Hi, this is Glenda. In today's video, I will show you how I made an adjustable soap slab cutter. I use wood scraps to make it, mainly a long board and a couple pieces of a 2x4 stud. I will list the materials, measurements, and tools in the blog post, which you can find linked below. A guitar tuner peg and guides for the cutter will also be needed, and I'm also going to list options to get those. My husband helped me by cutting a partial slit on the 2x4 pieces with his miter saw. Otherwise, I would have had to use a hand saw and it would have taken forever. My board, that will serve as the base for the slab cutter, is 25 inches almost long and 7 inches tall. If I had gone to the store to buy materials for this, I would have bought a board that was at least 10 inches tall, and I think 25 inches of length is ideal. I am marking right now the half point so that I know where the 2x4 pieces are going to go. Because the 2x4 pieces are, like their names say, 2 inches wide, I feel they're taking a lot of room in my baseboard, and I was concerned at first that there wasn't going to be enough room for the soap. However, it seems that it's just about right. If I was shopping for materials for this, I would probably choose something that was only 1 inch thick instead. After marking their position on the board, I am drawing little dots in the spots where the screws will be so that I can drill guides for it. I'm trying to make this to be equally distanced from the middle point that I mark at the beginning in the center of the board. As I handle the wood pieces, I realize that they are a bit too rough to be handled on a regular basis. So I'm going to briefly sand them around the edges so that they're soft and I don't get any wood splinters. I will be wearing a respirator to avoid inhaling any wood dust or sawdust. I was trying to save money by using as many materials as I could that I already had in hand. The only thing that I had to purchase was the guitar tune peg, and also I had to make the guides with a 3D printer for the adjustable height on the cutter. My husband cut also a 3¼ inch piece of the 2x4 so that I can attach the guitar peg to this, and it seems to be just about the right thickness for it given the length of the one that I have. There is another piece that came with the guitar peg that goes on the end. However, I'm not sure how it is attached. It does not seem to be needed for my purposes. I also have a screwdriver and some screws. These are drywall screws, which are not necessarily the ones you will want to use, but for me they will work. They are 2 inches tall, and I also have a drill bit set. I am looking for one that has about the same thickness as the stud from the guitar peg turner. And I also need a drill bit that will be close to the same thickness as the one of the screws so that I can make guides for it. I have chosen the smallest one, which is the 5/32 inches. Having chosen the drill bit, I proceed to load it into the screwdriver. However, I don't think I did a good job doing that, and you'll see why very soon. I don't think I tightened it enough because after succeeding in making the hold, I couldn't get it out. It was like the wood had eaten the drill bit and it wouldn't come off. And I was trying to do the reverse drill and different things until it finally released it. I made a quick check to make sure that the length of the screw was adequate for both the baseboard and the 2x4 piece. I wish I could tell you that the second hole was easier than the first, but that was not to be. However, it got done in the end. I then proceeded to make matching marks in what will be the wall of the cutter, which is one of the 2x4 pieces. And I'm marking at the same spot so that I can make identical drill holes. Here you can see that they're not even. The right drill hole is closer to the edge of the wood than the one on the left. This was because I only eyeballed it at the beginning when I marked these dots. So now I had to take multiple measurements back and forth to make sure that I can make matching holes that are equally uneven on the stud so that the screw will not have any issue going in. So after much measuring, I went ahead and I drilled the holes on the first wall. Having learned from this experience, when drilling the holes for the opposite wall, I made sure that after drilling the first wall, the marking aligned with this, and I made a slight adjustments to it so that it wouldn't be so problematic. You will notice that whenever I drill, I put the board on top of the two beams or on top of something else to make sure that I don't damage my working surface. I like to clarify that I am not an expert woodworker. There might be a better way to do this, I just don't know it. After this, I drill a couple of holes to hold the small piece of wood that will have the guitar tuning peg. I just made sure that they were close to the edge of the wood. After this, it was time to start assembling with the screws. This was not without problems because I did not match the wall to the holes that I had made initially, so even though the first screw went in with no problems, the second one did not want to go in, and I realized it was not matching with the pre-drill holes. So I had to remove it and put it on the opposite side. Then I was able to put it with no problems. When placing the second wall, I did not have issues initially, and I was able to place both the screws in the pre-drill holes. However, there was a gap that I could not figure out how to resolve. I'm not really sure what caused the gap, but to solve it out, what I did is that I removed the screw and then I came back with the drill and I drilled another hole in a slightly closer location just off the previous one. At some point during this process, my drill bit got stuck in the wood and I had to pry it out with some pliers. Here you can kind of see what the holes look like on the bottom. Next, it was time to add the screws that will hold a small piece of wood where the guitar tuning peg will be. And I only screwed them enough that the little tip of them will stick out. Then I press the piece of wood so that the indentation left by the screws will be my mark of where to drill the holes. This method actually worked better, and I did not have any issues matching these drill holes to the screws that were already in place. Now I need to figure out where to drill the hole for the cylinder of the guitar tuning peg. And to do this, I'm marking the spot where it will sit. At this point, I was using the same drill bit that I had used for the screws prior, which ended up being too small for the size of the cylinder, so I had to switch to a slightly thicker one. This was a 7/32 drill bit, which proved to be a little bit small still. However, I only had to pass it a couple times more over the same spot, and then I had a snug fit for the guitar tuner peg. I also secured it with the tiny screws that came in the kit that I dropped probably 5 times before being able to screw them in. The second one, I made the hole until after I had screwed the first one in, and that also made it easier as far as the placement of the drill hole. I'm also going to install a screw eye on the very edge of the cutter. This is to guide the wire through. Since I did not have a lot of room on the edge of the cutter, it made me think that I might have been better off drilling this hole before adding the 2x4 piece there. But this is what it looked like in the end. The opposite side, I drilled a small hole for a screw where the wire is going to come from originally. Speaking of wire, this is the one that I will be using. It is 20 gauge stainless steel wire. It is slightly too thick for this purpose, however, it still works. Ideally, though, you may want to use guitar string wire, which is slightly thinner. I am just looping it around the screw, and I'm also using needle nose pliers to make sure it is tight, and then I'm going to cut the excess. In the end, it looks like this. After securing it to the screw, I'm going to fit it through the slit and then pass it on through the middle to the other piece of wood in the second slit. Here, I'm going to make it go through the eye of the screw, and then I'm going to pass it through the hole that's in the cylinder of the guitar tuning peg. Here, I'm going to give it a couple of turns so that it's securely into this cylinder. And I had given myself plenty of wire length to be able to just do this with my hands. Later, I will cut the excess wire, but for now, I'd rather have it available. Now, I'm twisting the turner to the right to see if it will indeed tighten the wire. And even though it's taking a lot of turns, it seems to be working. And it is tightening the wire enough that I can test it and cut a piece of soap with it. However, I noticed that it wasn't at the right height. So I turned it the opposite way so that the wire will become loose, and then I could move the guide to the next step on the ladder. This created a lot of slack in the wire, so I had to remove it from the peg turner and then fit it again and tighten it. And once the wire was tense enough for cutting, I was able to try it, and it did work. I used a small piece of plastic to make it slide through the cutter and avoid dragging marks. So anyway, this is it. I hope you like this video. If you have any questions, you can make them below, and I'll see you next week. Bye.